Okay, so hopefully we're up and running. If someone can just bounce something into the comments just to make sure that we're up and that you can hear me and see me, that would be fantastic. So I'll just give you a second. So just making sure you can both hear and see me, and then hopefully everything will go well. The wonders and joys of Facebook Live translation, teaching Karate Do in a bubble, which is always exciting. Is there anybody on there with me? Just looking. Okay, can you see me? Just checking. Okay, so hopefully we're up. I can see a little eye with numbers, so that means people are on. So this is excellent. So what I want to do today is, this is actually my 4th time on Karate at Home, and I'd like to thank Martin for having me back for several times to really sort of talk about my approach to Karate Do and really sort of identify how I think about it, right? It's really important to me. So across the 4 times, what I did with my first class, right back, if you cast your mind back to May, my goodness, has it been that long? What we did was we talked about Kihon and how you can extrapolate Kihon to teach your body how to move, to really get what you want out of your body to train towards a specific thing. The second time that I went on, what we did was we talked about the idea of applying Kihon into Kumite. So how can you make seemingly basic Kihon-like movements into having real and correct Kihon functionality, right? The third time I was on, what we talked about was how different kata can inform one another. How what we can do is by taking 3 simple kata, in this particular case, it was Heian Yondan, Jion, and Jien, and how they interrelate to talk with each other to help teach you karate. This time, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the idea of Kihon and how seemingly non-interrelated Kihon can interrelate into kata. And so that's what I'm looking forward to doing with you today. Once again, just a heads up, my camera is flipped. So this way is actually my right-hand side, this way is my left, Facebook flips it. So just be aware of that when we actually enter into our kata later on in the class. So without further ado, let's get going. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. JD Swanson. I'm the author of the book Karate Science Dynamic Movement. I also have a channel that you can check out, 15 Minutes of Thought through Karate Science. So, you know, if you enjoyed today, check those out. So, let's get moving. Hey, Mitsubadachi. Hey, Us. Good, let's get moving. So, arms forward, nice and relaxed. Backwards. Out and back. Out and in. Good. From here, just reach up, stretching over to one side. And switch. Good. Leg short width and a half. Big breath in. And relax forward. Hey, very good. Good. Over to the left. To the right. Again, you don't need to go for gold here, right? You're warming your body up. Good. Making some good stretchy. Good. From here, just push the knee, let it rest on the floor, straighten your back foot out, go toe heel out, hand flat, hand on knee, relax up. And if you want, stretching up to the ceiling. Good. Going up to the ball of your foot. Same, keep that slight angle so that your bottom hip is pushing down. And rotate round. Ball of the foot or heel of the foot up on the opposite leg. Good. Switch, other side. Good. Hand down, knee down, instep down, toe heel, hand on your knee, rotate up. And let the hip just drop into place. And arm up. Good. Bring your hand to your knee, ball of foot, come on up. Keep the drop in the hip. Good. Rotating around, heel up. Very good. Just rocking back and forth. As you come up, feet out, kind of like a duck, shoulder width and a half, and just relax down the center. Just relaxing back and forth. Good. Hands flat, straighten your legs. Roll up just vertebrae by vertebrae. Excellent. Hips, nice big circles. Other way. Very good. From here, grab something nice, hard surface. Could be a wall, a chair, small child, whatever you want. From here, just pushing back, relaxing down with your calf. Push your heel into the floor, drop your hip, straighten your leg, and just stretch your calf out. Good. Switch. Good. From here, switch. And one more time, switch. Very good. From here now, this time, let your hip relax up, bend your back knee. So just allow this to bend. Keep your heel on the floor, just changing the stretch slightly. Switch. Out, drop your hip, and bend the knee. Good. Last one from here, just take this easy. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Come onto the ball of the foot and just stretching your hips forward into the wall. And switch. If you sit in an office all day, which I end up doing, or rather my home office because of COVID, you end up getting very, very tight hip flexors. And so this stretch is just a wonder for you. Very good. Right, so everyone's sort of loose, ready to go. Rock and roll. So what I want to do is we're going to introduce 4 different drills. And what we're going to do with those drills is I'm going to give you specific points within the Kihon that I want you to think about as we go through. So again, enjoy. There'll probably be pieces that you agree with, pieces that you don't agree with. I am totally cool with that. I will not cry into my pillow. The idea here is to make you think and make you think about your karate. And it's this approach. So again, I'm using a kata today, Heian Sandan, which is a very simple one, but I wanted this to be applicable all the way from orange belts to Goran Roku Shichidans, right? But I want you to be able to think about this approach to training, how kata and kihon inform one another, which you know, but I want to take it that level deeper. So, for our first drill, nice and relaxed, all I want you to do is just make kamae. Holy crap, we've done this before. From here, just punching straight out, nice and relaxed, making making chokuzuki rather. Ich, ni, sam, shi, go, ro, shi, ha, kyu, ju. Very good. So, one more time, just nice and relaxed. Here, ich, ni, sam, shi, go, ro, shi, ha, kyu, ju. Very good, and relax. Now, what I want you to think about, what I want you, all of you, to think about primarily, is I want you to think about your connection between your leg, your hip, and your punch as you make the technique. So what I don't want you to do, and I'm going to come up to the camera so you can see my hips, and it knocks out part of my worst part, which is my face. From here, as you make the punch, I don't want you to turn your hip and then punch. Don't turn, then punch. Likewise, I don't want you to turn and then reject your hip back. So don't make an action where your hip comes back. Make sure as you go that whatever you do, whether you just punch and rotate the hip, that slight rotation to your hip, make sure your center pushes forward. Pushes forward. Make sure it's not back and then boom, right? Not this sort of action here where it moves with and then pulls back. In this case, you've got this much room to make all of this action. So your hands must move quick. Your hips must move quick with them. Ideally, you want to hit with your hip and your hand, not just and then do a push-up on them. Hit with your body. So, think about your timing. If you need to, slow the technique down, but think about here, this action, this action, this action, not this action. 1, 2. Hip stops, hand keeps going. Together, together. The hip must be in motion when you hit. Let's try again. Ready? Ich, ni, sam, shi, go, ro, shi, ha, kyu, ju. Very good. So having that feeling, having that action of the hip, when my rear leg pushes, my rear leg, this one here, this pushes into my target, boom, is key, right? Understanding that relationship from the floor up through the hip and out through the technique becomes critically important. The second thing I'm going to get you to do, and this one's a little bit harder, you're going to make this action right up to the point of where you would impact the person. So we're going to change our timing. On the rotation part, I want you to actively push off the rear leg to squeeze the hip forward, not backwards, but push off this leg in, this way. So it gives you this kind of double hip action. So if you watch my belt, push, there's the rotation, there's my hand pulling, right? There's my hand pulling, rear leg kicks in at the point of contact, hit. You can try all these on a makawa, right? They help you sort of understand these different drives. And in case you're wondering, we're doing nothing different from oizuki, hip forward push, versus gyakuzuki, rear leg pushing with that final position. There's nothing different here. So let's try. So a little bit of sparking. Okay, ready? From here, let's try with a double hip action. The push, push. Ready? Ich, ni, sam. So feel that drive off the back leg. And when I do this one, I really think about my hikate hand helping me coordinate this side of my butt, this part of my heel, in. San, shi, go, uk, chich, hach, tu, ju. Good. So what I want you to get from that is understanding this relationship between the push of the hip and the leg, and it can be off either side, either this leg, boom, or this leg, right, depending on what I want to do. Reality, it ends up whichever leg's behind you, yeah, and which hand's out. So, Keep that in mind. Keep the timing idea. Hands and hips, no matter which way you do it. Second thing I want you, the second drill. This one, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. It's about 10 steps, but it starts off this. Those of you who are familiar with the Sai Sensei know a derivative of this probably pretty well. The same rule applies. Hands, hips, feet together. So I'll start it out facing this way, and then I'll turn around so then you can mirror me on the same way. So first one, straight punch. Ich, me. Now from here, 45 degrees. San, shi. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. I bet half of you just went, didn't we just spend 5 minutes fixing that? Make sure, same time. Not click, bang. Let's try again. Ich, me, san, shi. Now from here, stepping to here. Then back. Now from here, punch in the center. Go. Now from here, around, up. Now back. Very good. Now from here, the arm that's out remains the central axis. Keep this. This is going to be my rotational axis. From here, rotate, punch. Then come back. Then punch, then rotate, then back. Very good. Now the last one, this is going to remain my central axis. From here, turn all the way around. Then from here, turn all the way around. Easy? Kinda? Okay, so as you do this, it's not about balance or trickiness or cleverness. All I want you to think about as you do this is think about keeping your back straight and think about what we've been talking about, which is timing and the relationship of that back leg, the driving leg, to your technique, to the end of the punch. So let's try it. Ready? Hey, I'll do it this way so you can sort of move with me. Ich, me, 45, some, she. Good, stepping on the 90. Ich, back, me, some, she, go. Good, now from here, 180. Ich, back, me. Good, some, 180, she, back. Good, now from here, full turn. Ich, back, me. Very good. So it's about that idea. Double check that you're not just, as you step, check that it's hip driven. As you do the big turns, check that it's hip driven. Hip, push. Don't make it this. So as you make that big turn, check here, just turn the hip, turn the hip, turn the hip, turn the hip. Allow that to make the action. Let's do it one more time, and then I think, and as you go through, think about timing of hands, that connection point at the end. What I want from you is I want that foot to grab and push. That foot to grab as it hits, push. That feeling. So the whole thing, your technique, arms, hip, body, together, right through this drill. And all we're doing is increasing the amount of time that we have to start it off. Let's try it. Last time through. Ready? Ich, me, some, she, go, out, shich, hach, tu, ju, ich, me, hum, she, go, out. Very good. And just relax. So hopefully that makes sense, right? Having that nice feeling of just boom, boom. Feel hip, body up. Hip, body up. Right as it goes. You want that feeling of just pop, pop. Each time it just sticks. Right? So you want to make sure that that actually occurs. The second thing, so that's one drill. So what we've done is we've talked about this relationship of pushing the hip in line with your technique. Another place we see that is, of course, in the tiki kata. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull one move. It's the one that we hate the most out of tiki short arm, or we like it the most. They're usually polarizing. And what I want to do is I want to go into that basic technique with you. So from here, just make kiba. And what we've done is we've done a cross step, right? It's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've come to this position. So from here, just make kiba. Make the uchuke, right? And as you go, I want you to make it, we're going to linearize it and then we're going to circularize it up. So from here, make just genambarai and load. So it's this feeling of 1, 2, right? And then from here, 3, right? Then we're just going to put the hand away. 1, 2, 3. Put the hand away. 1, 2, 3. This feeling, right? And you all know that piece. Again, I've broken it down to linearize it to help us understand the hip movement. So let's just try a few just to warm up. So it's here each. 1, 2, then 3. From here, put it away. 1, 2, 3. Put it away. 1, 2, 3. Put it away. 1, 2, 3. This feeling. Now, what it can be really tempting to do is it can be tempting, and watch my hips as I move, it can be tempting to either do one of two things with the hips. Either you completely disassociate them and don't move them. Man, that looked tough. Right? So here, and it's just all arms. Or what you can do is you find that people will overuse their hips. So their hips are not necessarily coordinated with their body movement. So they do something like this. And you've all seen it, you know that, right? So what you want to do is pretend as if your elbows are connected to your hips by a rubber band. So as you make the motion for this, allow your hip, think about the motion that you're doing. This is receiving, this is striking. Allow the hip to drive in the same way that we did this way. So allow the hip to drive, right? So you can see, it's switch, switch, then allow the hip to slam shut, in, right? Not back, but into the target. A couple of things that are important, and I'll talk about them in turn a little bit deeper. For me, I pull my hand back this way. I squeeze a little finger that can go into my ear hole, right? I know that there's some that do these variations. I'll talk about those in a sec. The other thing is as I make the drive, you see that it's become very fashionable, at least here in the US, to make these big sort of curvilinear hits. Remember the technique is Tsuki. You just need to squeeze across your pectoralis. Squeeze here and drive the technique linearly in, right? Tsuki does not mean here. Tsuki means here and then driving straight. So wherever that goes to, it doesn't matter. It just needs a linear path from here. So squeeze the elbow, squeeze your pec as you go. So from here, what I want you to pay attention to, just as you paid attention in the previous drills, of this, right, hips and body, now pay attention to hips and body. Pay attention to the way your hip moves. How much freedom do you get? You get enough freedom to turn your hip within the stance before your knee starts to collapse, right? So if I'm here and I turn this hip, I can still push my knee forward. Any further, my knee's going to start collapsing in. So you can go from here, you have a lot of freedom in the hip. It's not as much as what I have up here, but I still have some. So allow and use that movement. You don't need a lot of distance to create a lot of power in terms of your body center movement, but make use of what you have when you're given it. Let's try. Ich, knee, put it away. Ich, knee, ich, knee, ich, knee. Very good. Again, sam, pa pa pa. She, pa pa pa. Go, feel, pa pa pa. Rok, pa pa pa. Very good. So as you progress in your karate training, When you start out as an orange or as a brown belt learning this kata, use and don't be afraid to maximize the use of your hips. As you advance, sandan, yondan, godan, rokudan, goodness knows what dan, allow your hips to become smaller and smaller. One of my mentors, Sensei Robin Riley, when I watch him do this kata, his hips barely move, but the movement is there and it's internal. So as you train, you must develop the external motion of the hip and elbow, and as you become better, it becomes smaller but still connected. Makes sense? But you must always maintain hip, technique together. Don't shorten the hip and leave the arms hanging. Try a few more. Ich, knee. Again. Ich, knee. Ich, knee. Ich, knee. Ich, knee. Very good. The last piece on this is, of course, we don't do this in a linear fashion within the kata. Allow it to become circular. Give it the shabazzle that you've always wanted to give it. So when you're here, Steve Ubel, for example, he reaches out and slaps somebody across the face on this first movement. So even here, as he goes, he doesn't just pull it straight back, he actually reaches and slaps, right, or reaches and hits. As that goes with that feeling, allowing that, allow it to be circular rather than this linear fashion. Allow it to be circular, but within the bounds of your body, right? Second thing, why do I have my hand this way? What it does, it creates a hard stop for my shoulder. If I'm here and rotate down, little finger in, it stops my shoulder here. If I rotate it out, I've got all this movement here. So here, this stops and creates a wall, a muscular or tendony kind of wall, which I can then just bounce off to allow the next technique to go. So you can use it that way. As you develop in your karate, it may not need to be so tight. You can release it because you understand that feeling. Okay, let's make it circular. Last few. Ich, knee. But allow your hip and body to do what it wants. So allow it to move with your technique. So every single one of those hits, boom, hit, 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 has got the limb and the hip driving into it the same way that you did here. Ready? Ich, knee, sam, shi, go, ro, shi, ha, Q, Ju. Very good. And relax. So hip, body, elbow connection. Critical. The next thing, let's do another drill now. Let's move on to a slightly different story. So this time, let's do a simple 5-6 step drill. So from here, make zenkwatsu. Very good. Step forward, oizuki. H. Good. Rotate, step back. Gerambarai. Knee. Good. From here now, I want you to step. This leg, this arm move together. Make gyaku gerambarai. Just in kiba. Here. San. From here, just from where the elbow is, expand the elbow up and make it akanuchi. Shi. Good. Step back. Shoot kokutsu, shoot again. Drive across. Gyakuzuki. Make gerambarai. And then we're back to the beginning. So it's just slopping it. Oizuki. Gerambarai. Shift across. Gyaku gerambarai. Rakanuchi. Shuto. Gyaku. Geidan. Right, that order. So again, don't let the movements freak you out. Don't let the order of movements. Rather think about the technique. And I'll tell you what I want specifically for the technique. So oizuki first. Ich. Good. Back gerambarai. Knee. Good. Rolling out. Kiba. Sam. Rakunuchi, shi. Good. From here, low, kokuts, go. Gyatsuki, rok. Geramrai. Very good. What I want out of you is I want no melting. Right? When I say melting, I mean this. You make the oizuki, good, hits, boom, and then you melt. Then you step back, and then you melt. Then you come across, kibarachi, then you melt. Rakunuchi, then you come, oops, sorry, here, then you melt. Kokuts, then you melt back. You've all seen that, right? You've seen that kind of feeling where the meltingness is. What I want you to do in this drill, the one thing I want you to do is move to the extreme in each space. So as you step, connect the technique and lock it in. Don't make it push back like you're holding in a sneeze. Allow it to go to its full length, right? But allow it to go to its full length. But don't have anything left in the tank, right? Make sure that once you hit, everything connects. If you get a cat, I don't recommend you do this, and you throw it in the air, wow, it sticks, boom, and then it moves. That feeling. So let's do that drill, thinking about the basic movement that's associated with that. Making sure, and again, that can be a whole discussion. If you look at the first one of my karate at home, we talked a lot about how you think about your center moving. This one, I want the end right. I want hands, feet, bang, same time. Connect it up. So from here, oizuki, itch, back geramrai, knee. Good, so feel the hip, boom, connect. That jams the leg down, and you feel that connection from rear leg to front hand. Boom, there. Now from here, the hewanuke, connection here to here, as it goes. 2, there. So as this connects, what I want you to think about is think about what you learned from Tiki Shodan 5 minutes ago. It wasn't sitting here with my hips. That's not allow the hip to turn and drive the technique. So what I'm doing when I make my block, I'm not rolling my shoulder joint forward because then I've got nothing holding it there, right? It's only these front muscles. I want the whole joint, the whole shoulder joint to be stuck in the socket. So make geramrai, put it into its correct place, but simply use your hip and the drive of the hip to bring it across. So when I do this, I'm not just moving my shoulder, I'm moving the whole machine. That's what I learned from Tiki Shodan and then bringing across here. So as I hit, I'm landing here. This hip is slightly in front of this hip. Why? Because that is my natural Zenkutsudachi position, not here. If you're here and roll the shoulder joint, I make my natural Zenkuts, it ends up being here. Right? That's not right. So check. Here, connect with the hip. Then it fits. If I'm here and square, connect it forward by rolling my joint, now it's off. You see what I mean? So allow your body to drive the technique. From here now, my hip is rotated. Now what I do is I simply throw the elbow and the hip together to make the arakan. I'm not throwing them back. I'm not throwing it all the way this way. I'm throwing it simply directly towards you. Right? So my hip and body center move from being here to being here. Notice it's a slight movement. That amount is what I need to make the arakan and give it the juice that it needs to be able to hit. Okay? So here, 1, now 2. Good. Now from here, squeeze and drive. This is easy. Itch. Connect it. Then drive off this rear leg. 3. Now geramrai, some. Good. So these are the key points. Pop together and be aware of your hip and body and elbows and how they're connected together. Try again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So allow, boom, connect, connect, connect. Pop, 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 pop. Make your words clipped. Make them clear and concise. They finish each one abruptly. Try again. Ready? Itch. Connect. Me. Connect. All the way through the chain. Sun. Connect. She. Go. Look. Sheech. Good. So be aware of each time where that driver is. For me, as I step, this leg, this hand. Whoom. That's the connector. When I go back, this leg connecting on the floor. Here, there. When I move to the next one, it's here, this, from here up to here. When I make the next push, here to here, and it snaps back. From here, front leg connects against the brick wall of my back and connecting to here, or here actually. Then from here, rear leg, rear hand. Then from here, one connection of the back leg together, like in the second piece. So each one of those pieces make that happen. Go to the extreme and make it connect from the end to the end of the technique. Try two more and then we'll move on. Hey, ish, good, knee, some, she, go, look, chich. Very good. One more time. Ready, ish, knee, some, she, go, look, chich. Very good, and relax. So of course, if we had an hour and a half, 2 hours, we would do both sides today. I just want to give you that taste. It's up to you to flip this and do it on the other side. Our last drill now takes all of these pieces into account, and just like we graduated from this to this, or even all the way around this, what I want you to do now is let's do it from kibadachi. Let's bring it from that way. So from here, just make kiba, and all I want you to do is for each one, we're going to do it very simply. The first one is going to be like a basic step. The second step is going to be like stepping around, whoa, balance, stepping around the other way. Third one, we're going to go backwards, so the way we came. Fourth one, a regular step. So it's effectively step normally, step behind, step behind, step normally. And it's in kibadachi all the way through. So let's try. We'll try it just with the stepping pattern. So kibadachi first. Stepping through normally. Itch. Now from here backwards, stepping behind. Knee. Good. Now stepping behind. Some. Now stepping through. She. Very good. Right? Very simple stepping pattern. Regular, backwards, backwards, regular. One more time. Stepping forward. Itch. Stepping backwards. Knee. Stepping forwards. Stepping backwards. Some. Stepping backwards. She. Stepping forward. Woo. Let's try again. Forward, backward, backward, forward. Forward, backward, backward, forward. Very good. Now, there's some things that you can play with in this, right? One of them, you can turn, if we take the forward step, you can turn boringly. Here, and just everything moves together. You can change, you can make it from here, foot comes across, right, and then twist. You can also, from here, and Sensei Riley talks about this a lot, is from here, shift, make zenkutsudachi, and then use that to step. Right, so you have all of these options open to you. Either just bring it all through together, with the together feeling, bring it across, and then turn, right? So you're like twisting the rag and then letting it go. And then the third is twisting, pushing into zenkuts to get the momentum moving, and then stepping, right? All three of those have their merits. They're neither right nor wrong. They just depend on your opponent and what your opponent's doing. Likewise, when you move backwards, you can be here, and there's multiple ways you can think about it. You can make just a straight twist, then how you make most turns. You could come around here, then unload, right? Or alternatively, you can come around, place the foot, and then instead of making it a spinning action, make it a driving action into the target. So you've got three options. One, you just simply twist and everything moves as a unit. Number two, you twist, hold the legs, then make it all about the rotation. Or number three, you twist, place and drive linearly into your target. It's about controlling your body center from place to place. Again, all are correct, and you can play with them as you want, yeah? So allow that to happen. So, what I want to do is let's add some hands to this very briefly. So for the first one, let's just make tetsui. Classic load, bang, right? Just straight up. Classic load, bang for each one. And again, play with the different stepping between now or whenever you do this in the future, hopefully, and figure out which ones work for you, what timings work for you. How's it work? The worst thing you can do, though, is be completed in your stance, and this is orphaned. Make sure there's always either rotational action, linear action, or the whole thing moving together, right? Make sure that happens. Don't lose your principle from the very beginning. Okay, ready? So, tetsui, add the arms now. So, step straight in, ich. Now rotate backwards, ni. Now rotate backwards, sam. Now step in, shi. Very good. So it's again, pa, 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 pa. Try again. And again, play with the different ways that you can adjust your weight and the different timings of adjusting your weight with the striking part of the technique, and let those go in your mind to think about when they can be applied. Ready? Straight, ich. Backwards, ni. Backwards, sam. Straight, shi. Very good. One more time. Ready? Ich. Ni. Sam. Shi. Very good. And relax. So now, let's change our techniques. When we're going backwards, tetsui. When we're stepping normally, taisho. The taisho I want you to do for today, and there's multiple versions, I know. The taisho I want you to do for today is let it relax off the hip and make it circular as it goes across. Make it circular as it comes round. Normally, we use the rotation to signal the kime at the end. This all happen together, yeah? In taisho, this, and this all happen together, yeah? So I want you to focus on that end point of everything grabbing together, but think about the ways that you're moving through kibadachi. Okay, ready? So I'm just going to call it by technique, taisho or tetsui. The foot stepping, the stepping remains the same. Hey, taisho, tetsui, tetsui, taisho. Very good. The other thing that's important, taisho should not finish here, right? If I'm here, push against the wall. There's nothing there to hold it. Bring it where you would normally hold garambarai, and then make it. Notice it's slightly in front of my body. Make sure you're holding it in the strongest position for your body. Back here, right, which a lot of people do, is very unnatural. Right? Aesthetically, it's beautiful, but it's incorrect. Right? Full body mechanics. If you want to try it, hit a bag. I was going to say hit somebody, but I live in America, I'd get sued. Hit a bag, boom, and connect, and see which one you're able to drive your body strength through versus here, where it's back, or here, where you can connect and engage your pecs. The answer will be simple. Okay, this elbow position is pretty much universal. Yep. Okay, let's try a few more. I'm going to call it by the arm technique. Try the variations in stepping, the variations in timing of hip turning, and then the connection of the technique, which should happen together. Ready? Hey. Taisho. Tetsui. Tetsui. Taisho. Very good. One more time. Hey. Taisho. Tetsui. Tetsui. Taisho. Very good. And relax. Good. So what we've done is we've done 4 basic Kihon drills, yeah? And all we've done this entire time is practice hand sandan. And we've practiced principles of hand sandan. When I think of hand sandan myself, I constantly imagine, when I've been taught it by my senior instructors, they go, it's all about learning kibadachi. Yeah. Well, what makes a godan, a sandan, interested in that kata? It's things like these. So let's go through the kata, and again, I'm not going to be talking about specifics of the motion. I've covered that in actually some of my 15-minute series, so by all means go back, stalk through those. You'll find a 3-part series on hand sandan. But I want to talk about it specifically with the techniques that we've done today. Okay, so let's start, and remember, my kata will be mirrored. I'm not that cool, folks. I'm not like Katsu Jr. who did unsu backwards. I'm not that cool. I'm just doing it on my regular side, handstand, and it's just my camera's flipped. Okay, so let's start in our last 15 minutes of thinking about this. From here, think about that drop. Think about that first motion. Think about the drive of the hip one way or the other, and think about, so the drive, whether I'm pushing off this leg or this leg. Think about the drill where it was just all about connecting my stance down in place. Think about that now. Think about here, as I block, which is my blocking hand. Think about what we learned in Tiki Shodan, which talks about being aware of which hand's going out and meeting my opponent and which one's absorbing my opponent. And therefore, which one do I need the body reinforcement? Think about those pieces. So as I make my Ichike, as I come, for me, I'm going to block with this hand. So it's here, it's going to be 1, and then drop. And notice no melting, no boom, because this is a principle of hand sandan. Making that connection, that boom, here, boom, strong and hard, veins in your teeth. So here, think hip, whichever hip. If you're maybe absorbing here and doing the double hip action, which is also fine, use the hip and the body to make that action. Notice here, subtle, and again, I'm overemphasizing it so you can see it, but allow the hip, the elbow, the wrist to twist to make the connection you want, the connection you want. That's okay. For me, this hand, this hip, and drop. This is your feeling. So, itch, drop. Now, let's make the double block. We step up, we load, and as I go, think about your hip action. Think about what you learned from Tiki Shodan. Think about the connection at the end in the standing drills. So as we're here, think, feel the hip, feel the elbow move together. Then as this foot plants and hits, so notice blocking here, absorbing, hitting. As this foot plants, allow it to push, boom, this one's hitting, to connect your hip into the correct place. Again, I'm overemphasizing these movements so you can see it and think about it. Here, connect. I can feel that. So this is this combined with this. This is the feeling that I want. Feel here, there. I can emphasize this hip. I could emphasize either, but for me, and this is in talking with a good friend of mine, Dr. Matt Payne, about this specific point, feeling that push is critical here. Absorbing, hitting, in this case. Now as we go through the next technique, it's here. Now just do the opposite. Allow the hip to move as it needs, and then push. So now it's just the opposite side. It's allowing us now this feeling that we did earlier on today. So, big drop, hip, body, 1. Now push. Now push. Good. And so again, as you do this more and more, your hip motion becomes more and more subtle with the technique as you progress on. For me, I'm not thinking of 80s dance, This, I'm thinking forward into my opponent with my hips. Let's try. So, 1, 2, 3. Very good. And think about which one, these two hands are not equal. One is dominant. Allow that to play out. From here now, as we drive round, feel your technique come across, and remember that twisting action. Whoa, round. Allow that now to take place into your technique. This is one of my favorite moves in all kata, right? So this is our straight twist, wham, that feeling. Allow this feeling here, elbow and hip, as it moves. Ready? Itch. Go back. Knee. Good, go back. One more. Sun. Go back. Now, same. Itch. Knee. Very good. Now from here, as we move to the next movement, think about those straight connect. This time we're simply dropping our weight going into kokuts. For today, we're going to do this Steve Ubel's way. So from here, I know classically, depending on your level, 1 and 2, or combined in the same motion. For today, just for the emphasis of feeling, I want you to simply drop. Simply drop. Feel the elbows and the body connect together into that marote uke. Hey, ish. Drop, very good. Now remember we had oizuki bomb, and it was to the end of the technique. So allow as you step straight in. Boom, not bomb float, boom, stick. Allow that to happen as you make that step. So we're here. 1. Now from here, don't allow your arms to move, no pulling back. Just leave where they are. This is already in position. Have the feeling of moving forward, even from here. So as you stare, allow that to occur. Ready? Up here. Itch. Knee. Now from here, turn, twist. This is the same. We're not talking about specifics of the movement, but simply feel this behind and twist. Whichever way you want to do it. The kata, when you're learning it, says, yeah. We all know that. You should be able to do that smoothly if you're a black belt. But now, you're a black belt in training, moving to shu, ha, ri, moving towards these greater principles. Start playing with your karate to try different variations on that movement, understanding the basic version. So here, twist. It might be here, right? Whichever way you want to go. Practice those variations. Don't be afraid to in your kata training, right? When I'm training with my sensei, I do it exactly the way he tells me. But when I'm doing my training, I do it the way that I'm expressing my body and trying different things to allow my body to move differently. So from here, make your twist. Itch. Then the oizuki, you may from here, this is a straight step. You may from here simply twist and push. You may hold and then twist at the end. It's up to you. Experiment with the different ways of moving. A shi. Very good. From here, just come up nice and relaxed. The next motion from here is allowing this knee lift and drop. So remember, all of this practice that we've just done, twisting, this all now comes into play. This is not a motion where it's here, lift and turn and drop, or a lift and reach. It's up and down, right? If you go in any of those reachy versions, you end up going over your emberson. So make sure, as you're here, allow a straight up. And my instructor used to grab hold of my hips and simply screw them into the ground. So have that feeling of being here, lift the knee high, and then drop the hip. You must have that feeling. So allow that in your training, for example, for here, as you're making taishos. This is that feeling. This helps develop that motion, that twisting action within the kihon that we just did. So from here, feel, lift, and drop. Now, the other thing that's important, remember, we came up and made hewanuke, had our hips in a slight hami for kibadachi position. This is the same here. For me, in my karate, I don't drop my shoulder forward. That does not work for hewanuke for me, for this block. I must use my body and my center to make the block. So this block, hewanuke, is coming for me from my legs as I make it. Then when I make the arakan over the top, notice my hip now reaches towards my target and snaps back in. So you can allow it to do that. Make sense? So let's try. 1, up, down. Then, good. Try it again. 2, then snap it. 3, and snap it. Very good. So different ways that you can think about the transition, right? Remember, we had the idea of here, we had the idea of moving everything as one unit, or we had the idea of making zenkuts and stepping as we went through. You can apply all three of those here. So you can, for example, here, simply lift. Notice my rear foot on the floor just moved. You can, from here, make zenkuts and make the lift, right? So allow those to happen. The other thing that you can do is you can also, from here, you can simply squeeze in. This one's more advanced. Move on the ball of the foot and squeeze. That keeps your stance a little bit narrower, helps with emphasis, and helps with the lift and drop. The key thing is don't twist this out and stand here like a dummy. Allow it to push your weight forward. Allow it to be actionable in the way you move. Let's try those three movements within the context of a kata. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. From here, simply expand. So here, and again, try this, whichever way, all of this moving together, whichever way floats your boat, to now understand. And again, no sinking at the end. Very easy, but very important. So you're here. Now the last movement, multiple ways. 1, everything moves together. Oh, feet shoulder width, feet kibadachi. It depends on how far away I am from my embassy. That's it. That's the big secret, right? The point is here, then turn. So from here, come in and out. So you've just done a punch. Come in, 1, then together, 1. Could be your first. A second action on that, and this is the way Kanazawa Sensei used to do it, is here, place, keep this taut this way, then let it go. Again, a variation, an extreme variation of this, right? The last way, a Steve Ubel-esque way, is from here. Don't even place this foot. Make a tight squeeze here. Don't place this foot. And simply come round, right? Which is much harder to do. But what that does is that emphasizes the squeeze that you need, this collapsing in of your technique. If you look, a lot of Scott Langley's stuff that he's been working on lately, he's really been talking about that squeeze of the inner thigh. That's what I'm working on here. So for here, one more time, we've got multiple options. 1, together, then shift. We've got 1, then squeeze, then let go. Notice the slight change in timing, but notice my body center and my hands hit together. Option 3, don't even put this foot down. Squeeze and go. This feeling, right? Then shift. So let's try that last piece a few times. Whichever way floats your boat. Ready? Itch. Ich. Ni. One more. Hey. Ich. Ni. Very good. So we have our 3 different ways. So notice what we did here was our kihon worked on our kata, right? It helped us put that together. Let's do hand sangan one more time, and then I'll give you some closing words as we finish out. So, apply all of this. Apply your kihon. Apply your kihon. Apply your kihon. Right? Apply your kihon. Right? Where are we? Taisho. Right? Apply the principles that we worked on there to the kata. Here we go. Ready? I'm just going to count through normally. Don't just do the kata. Do the kata. Hey. Ich, ni, sam, shi, go, chich, hach, ju, ju. Ich, ni, sam, shi, go, chich, hach. Young man. Very good. Thanks. Very good. So, as you went through this, just arms forward, it's really important to think about how we always talk about this trip or this tri idea of Kihon, Kata, Kumite, the 3 points to the triangle. And I think to a large extent we misinterpret that. We think of it that our Kata, Kihon, and Kumite must be done equally. They don't. They change according to need, rank, age, ability, the ratio they do. But you never ever can do one to neglect the other. So your kihon must always inform your kumite. Your kihon must always inform your kata. And the kihon you do should not be separate from that. Your kata must inform your kumite. You cannot break these pieces up. And it doesn't mean that we have to spend equal time on each. Rather, what it means in my thinking is that we must spend time working out ways to use one to inform the other. And so with that, I hope you've all had an awesome day. Thanks again to Martin and Nadia senseis for allowing me to come on and hang out with you one more time. It's been awesome. If you have questions, don't be afraid to PM me. Other than that, have an extremely awesome day. Keep safe, keep well, and enjoy your karate training. It's an amazing gift. Hey, sudach. Hey, us. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.